Hey guys, it's Wendy here with Wendy's Plans, and today I thought I would sit down and give you some thoughts of traveling for the first 3 months of the year and how it's going, what my feelings are, all of that kind of stuff. So guys, stick around. All right, guys. So I have learned things to do and not to do. I have kind of rounded out my feelings on the size of a place that I want to visit and some of the things I want to do when I get there. And I have just had a lot of learning experiences along the way. I am enjoying myself. I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. But I did want to give you just a brief, I don't know, just what my feelings are and where I'm at. So this is not in any particular order. This is just some of the things I was thinking about, and I just decided to start writing them down. And so we're going to go over those. I'm going to give you some safety tips that I knew ahead of time. I didn't follow through on some of them, but I do now. And we'll go from there. So first one is, guys, I don't like big cities. I grew up in North Carolina. I lived in Virginia Beach and Chesapeake for a long time, and those were big cities. Charlotte is a big city in North Carolina. Wilmington, not so much. It's a small, it's not a small town, but it's not a big city. It is a medium-sized city. I grew up right outside of Raleigh, so I was used to Raleigh and Raleigh, Charlotte, Cary, Durham, that area. I felt comfortable. I have not felt comfortable in Kansas City. While I have loved being here and the things that I've done and seen, there are things that I just don't feel comfortable. And that's on me. It's not on the city because, you know, everybody loves different things. If you want nightlife, guys, I'm not into that. So it really didn't make any difference to me. I didn't want to do that. But for me, the three things in particular that I have struggled with, and guys, it's no secret, y'all have probably heard me on every video I've done, parking. I grew up in an area where you didn't have to worry about parking. If you were going to a store, there was a parking lot. If you were going to a restaurant, there was a parking lot. Even in downtown Wilmington, the parking is more accessible. Street parking is more accessible than here. And so there are restaurants that I wanted to go, but there was no parking. And they would say street parking available. And then it would show a warning that it's hard to find street parking. So I was like, well, I'm not going there. Because, guys, I don't know the area well enough to know that if I get out and walk, it's a safe neighborhood or not. The other thing is they do have free public transportation in the form of a tram. And while that would be great, I would still have to drive somewhere and park my car, pay for parking all day, and that gets expensive. The most I have stayed in any one location for a parking garage is maybe 4 hours. And that's like $14, $15 just for that. So To me, that's not an option. And number two, I've never taken like a city bus or transportation like that, other than like Uber or, taxi or whatever. I've not done that. I didn't want to experiment in Kansas City because I'm not as familiar with this area. So I didn't want to do it here. And the other thing is traffic patterns. They're crazy. Some intersections you cannot turn left between X hour and X hour. Some intersections you can't turn left during weekdays. It's just crazy because I'm not used to that. And I think it is the trend in most cities to not do left-hand turns. And I get that because it ties up the traffic. I don't know where else to go. But we will get to that later on. So those have been the three challenges that I have had. Because your GPS doesn't always know, or your maps or whatever you're using doesn't always know that the intersection is only open from this time to that time. And it's going to take you the way the roads are going. So that has been one struggle that I have had. Two, I have learned that I don't always have to have something to do every day. I also have, guys, my sinuses are killing me today. I was under the impression, and I was kidding myself into thinking, that I should do something every single day. I should be out of the Airbnb. I should be doing something. But guys, in reality, I do need to edit and upload videos. I need a day of rest. I need, some days I'm just not feeling it. And I may go out and eat and then come right back because I'm just not. Guys, in real life, I didn't go out every single day, even when I was retired. It was just a matter of running errands or going to pick up something to eat. I didn't plan on doing something every single day. And I think in my mind, I thought, okay, you need to, you need to get out and do stuff. And I do. I just don't do something every single day. And that's okay. Because eventually, I don't care how big a city is, you're going to run out of things to do that you're interested in. They may have 1,000 different things for you to do, but if you're not interested in them, you're not going to enjoy them. So what is the point? Some days, as I said, I just don't want to go and do that thing that day. And so what I have found is that I have rescheduled some of those. And then sometimes I just want to sit down and work, whether that is looking for another Airbnb in the next location or the following location, or 6 months from now, and I want to look up things to do when I'm there, things to see. I want to look at places to eat in the next location, all of those things. And so I still need time to do those. And so I finally figured out, after the first week of going, and just being so tired, that it's okay. I did learn. I originally knew in my mind, and it solidified after driving the first trip from North Carolina to Missouri, that I don't want to drive more than 5 to 7 hours in a day. A 6-hour day, guys, that's just spot on perfect for me. You just don't realize how much driving can take out of you. You just get tired of just driving. And I think part of it is not the whole way is stressful driving. In fact, I would say 85% of my drive was not stressful, but that 15% that was, it just wears you out. So, moving forward, I will continue to plan on having a break if it's more than 6 hours drive. So, my next drive is going to be, I think it's like 11 hours. Yes, it's right at 11 hours. I opted to go my first day 7 hours to get me to a bigger city because I don't want to try to find a hotel or someplace to stay in a smaller town. Sometimes it can be difficult. So I elected to drive that extra little bit to get to a bigger city. And then the next day when I leave, I will have about 5 hours left. And so that's perfect for me. Because when I get to my location, I'm going to have to unpack at least the necessities out of my car for the first night. So I'm not going to be so tired on that last day. That for me is perfect. The next thing that I realized this in South Carolina at Myrtle Beach is don't be afraid to talk to people. You know, you never know when somebody's going to take offense when you speak to them or not. And so a lot of times our instinct is to not speak. I'm from the South. We speak to everybody. I'm a talker. You guys know that. And one of the first times I realized, no, it wasn't the first time because I would speak to people, me and Jan, when she was down, we talked to people, we had a good time. And a lot of times we did. And even when I would go out by myself, I had one young lady in a restaurant. She was my waitress, and she saw me reading, and she was asking me all about my Kindle. Was it worth it? You know, all those things. And we talked about it, and she said she did a lot of Audible, and I told her I did too. We had a great conversation, and I never really realized that a lot of times I would have to speak or start the conversation, but then people would kind of follow suit. But one that sticks out in my mind was when me and my sister-in-law Lisa was in Myrtle Beach, and we had just gotten our coffee and our little danishes, and we just sat down, and this couple came by and sat down right beside us. And he looked up and he said, "Have you been to Iceland?" Because I was wearing my Iceland shirt. And I said, "Actually, I have." And I said, "It's a wonderful place to be." And he was telling me how he had been stationed there when he was in the military, and how he enjoyed it. His wife was not with him. I think that's what she said, that she did not go with him when he was stationed there. And we sat there and talked about so many things. And come to find out, he was from North Carolina, not far from where I grew up. So we had a nice conversation. It was probably an hour we sit there talking and drinking coffee, and so that's when it dawned on me that if you come across approachable, people will approach you and talk to you, and that's not a bad thing. You can use your judgment and tell if you don't want to maintain that contact, you can make an excuse to leave. So guys, that's what I've been doing. I'm trying to enjoy this life, and I'm trying to meet people in these towns so that I do take away conversations and stuff. And I have done that here in Kansas City. Another thing that would stress me out is I would have a schedule made, and I would look at the weather, and then the weather would change and during the week, and I would get upset because I couldn't go do, like, for example, I was going to do the zoo and it was thunderstorms that day. I can just change it, guys. Just because it's written down doesn't mean I can't reschedule it and do something else. So, once I realized that and I embraced it, it made the stress level go way down. So I just don't overthink it anymore. I just reschedule whenever it makes me happy. My thought process coming in, even though I have a full kitchen, was that I would probably eat out all the time. Well, guys, I'm telling you, it's expensive to eat out in Kansas City. Groceries are a little more higher than what they were in North Carolina and South Carolina, but it was still cheaper for me to cook some meals at home. I would say I have probably cooked 65 to 75% of my meals. And normally, what I do is I will cook like a pot of soup or something that a pasta that I can eat the next day. So I have done that, and that puts more money in my pocket to go see something, and I would rather do that. I do want to eat local food in local restaurants, and I have done that, and I have found some really great restaurants along the way, and I'll continue to do that. But um, it's okay to cook, and I really have cooked more now than I probably did from January through March. So I've enjoyed it. So that's a money saving tip is if you have a kitchen available, use it. You can save some money that allow you to do more things. Another thing that I have found is that sometimes I'll make an excuse not to go out because I'm dreading parking or I'm dreading the route because I'm not sure where I'm going to go. I was so excited to go to the MLP meetup, and then the closer it got, I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going to be the highway situation? What's going to be?" And you know what? I told myself, Wendy, you got here. You can get wherever you want to go. So I think the longer I was in Kansas City, the more I built up that last little bit of my drive. And it has just taken over my brain saying, oh my gosh, this is crazy city to drive in. I've not had a problem driving in Kansas City since I got here. Now, I did not drive downtown because parking. Um, so I have gone a lot of places, and I have driven and I haven't had a problem. So I try to look at why am I anxious about doing this event or going to this place? And once I think through it, I'm like, I really do want to do that. And I go and I have a great time and I love it. So sometimes I just have to give myself a little pep talk and then I enjoy it. I'm going to save the safety things, I think, until last. Another thing that goes along with this is your GPS will reroute you. So if you get to one of those situations where you can't make a left turn and your GPS is telling you to make a left turn, just go up to the next block because your GPS will reroute you. And I know this. I've used it, we all have for half my life. And I don't know why I was stressing it because I can just go another block and it's going to tell me where to go. I can't tell you how many times I would set my driving directions and get in the car and leave my house and say, oh, I need to stop and get coffees. And my car would say rerouting, because I didn't go the way it was telling me. And it would just keep telling me until I got back on the route that it was telling me to go because I wanted to stop and get coffee or something to eat or stop at a rest stop, those kind of things. But using it in town, I really just didn't think about it. And finally it dawned on me at sitting at a intersection and I couldn't turn. And I just went straight and it just took me up to the next block. So that's when it kind of hit in my brain. Some of these things are because we don't really think them through. Oh, and another thing is I need to mark them off as I go. When you get to your location and you're going to be there for a while, go in and put your home address as the address that you're staying in. I didn't do it. And most of the time when I get in my car, my home or the location that I visit the most, which is your home address where you're staying, pops up first. But I was at a location and it didn't. And I was trying to search for it, couldn't find it. And I actually had to go back through my emails to find the home address, because on that particular outing, I didn't even have my planner with me, and I keep it written down in that. So I was at the MLP meetup, and one of the girls there said, well, just switch your home address. You can switch it every time you go to a new location. And I was like, duh, why didn't I think about that? And that was a really good tip. Just some things that we really know, but you don't think about them. So that was a really good tip that someone else gave me. 2 things that would calm me down. During my driving, I had my sister, Martha, shout out to Martha. I would call her, she would call me, and that kind of took my mind off the monotony of just getting in the car and just driving straight for miles. And it gave me time to catch up with her, and it kind of, especially when you start to get tired, it gets your brain focused on something else, and while you're driving, you can have a conversation. Now, we'll say, when I went through Nashville, I have driven through Nashville before and not had a problem. But this time it took me a different way into Nashville because I was going in a different direction. And it was road work. It was a different direction. It was heavy traffic. And I could not concentrate on my book. I turned my book off. My sister called me. I picked up, or while we were talking, I can't, I've got to turn you off till I get through here. And that's okay. So having somebody or something to listen to, like my books, on Audible, it allows me to engage my brain and keep me awake and keeps me from being tired. The other thing I've found that I would do in those stressful situations is I kind of give myself a pep talk. There was this one bridge that was looming in front of me, and it looked old. It wasn't. It just looked that way. It may have been. I don't know, but I felt safe once I got on it. But you have to remember the Baltimore Bridge that just collapsed. So that was fresh, and it kind of freaked me out, I'm gonna be honest. So I kept talking to myself all the way across, and all the way up to it, all the way across. It was like, you got this, you're brave, that is your word. Just keep driving straight. Don't look to the side, just look down in front of you. All these pep talks, and that actually helped me a lot. And if I got to a place, I would say, Wendy, you can do this. It's just driving. You can do this. So I did talk to myself a lot. Another thing that I found is that at first I was like, once I've tried a restaurant, I'm not going back. But guys, sometimes you find a restaurant and you're like, oh my gosh, that was so good, and you want to go back. There's nothing wrong with going back to the same restaurant. There is nobody telling you can't do something. There is no restaurant police saying, oh girl, you've already tried this restaurant, you can't go back. There have been a couple that I really enjoyed, and I did go back, and I enjoyed them the second time and got something different. So it is okay, even though in my mind I said you can't go back. So let's go back to some safety things, because Wendy did this not once but twice. you get in your car and you start listening to a book, and you don't think about your book is pulling power. And it's I download my books, so I'm not on Wi-Fi listening to them, but I am listening to it. It's pulling it from my phone through my car speaker. And all of a sudden my phone just turns off, and I'm like driving down the road. I have no idea where I'm going or anything. This happened twice. You'd think I'd remember. Learn my lesson. Twice it did this. So my advice is, when you get in the car, plug your phone in if you're going to listen to a book. That's what I do now. Lucky for me, I had just looked at my phone. I knew what exit I was, because I knew I was getting close coming back from MLP. I knew I was getting close. I was about 10 miles outside of Kansas City. My phone died, and that's when I realized, oh my gosh, I didn't plug my phone in. And so I plugged it in. It had time to get enough charge that I could pull up my GPS again. And I did, and I was fine. But I did have to take that exit, and then it finally got me back on track. And guys, that was like my lesson learned, because the first time it happened, I was miles and miles before I had to turn or take an exit or something like that. So there you go. I also learned, if you go by a past a rest stop, you need to stop, because you know the signs usually tell you so many miles to the next one. That doesn't always mean you're going to make it to the next one, guys. Or that it might be closed. And so I did learn to just stop when I saw a rest area, even if nothing but to get out and walk and stretch. That's a bonus one for you. Another safety thing, and I broke this rule twice. If you don't feel comfortable in a location, don't stay. So one of the times that I did this was at a hotel. And when you go on to these websites like hotel.com or bookings.com or Trivago, whatever, they give you a map, and but you can't tell what the neighborhood is like. Sometimes you can get that little picture where you can look at it and do like a 360 view of the area. That doesn't necessarily tell you anything either, because that's what I do. So I booked a hotel based on reviews, and I got there and I was like, okay, it didn't look bad, until I drove behind to park, and behind me was some issues that I didn't like. I didn't feel comfortable. It didn't feel like a safe neighborhood. But I stayed. Nothing happened. Nothing was wrong. I didn't sleep good. I did not enjoy that time period. I made up my mind right then, because that was the second time. I made up my mind then, when I feel that way, I just leave. I could have, even if I had to pay for another hotel, which I didn't want to do, I will do that from now on, because it's worth a good night's sleep and feeling safe than to worry about that money you already spent. The other place was a restaurant that the neighborhood surrounding it did not make me feel safe. It just, things that I just didn't feel comfortable. Inside the restaurant, the people were wonderful. There wasn't that many people in there. They came by and checked on all of us all the time, and I felt safe while I was in there. I just didn't feel comfortable about the neighborhood surrounding it. And I have just, that's just going to be my rule moving forward. If I don't feel comfortable, I'm not going to stay in that area, regardless if it's a restaurant I really wanted to go to, or if, it's just an overnight at a hotel. I feel like as a single female traveler that sometimes you have to weigh your comfort and safety over anything else. And so that's what I am going to be doing. Now, the next one has multiple parts to it. Is be aware of your surroundings at all time. Some of these I knew before I left. I saw a video or an Instagram story, something. I don't remember what it was. But they were talking about being aware of your surroundings. And some of these, I really didn't think about it until I got here. One of the things they said was when you're exiting your car, to make sure you have everything in your hands. Guys, you know how us women are. We grab our purse, we grab our, phones, we have our, everything in our hands, and we get out and we're like, oh, I forgot to get this, and I reach in there and get it. Look around, make sure you have everything in your hands before you unlock your car door to get out. Along with that is before you get out, look around you, especially in parking garages. Make sure that there's nobody just standing around watching you. Not necessarily to harm you, but to get into your car. So that's a biggie now that I make sure I do. When you're going to your car or wherever it's parked, make sure to look at your surroundings when you're getting, like if you're in a store or a restaurant, kind of look around before you walk out to get into your car to make sure there's nobody, parked beside you that's just not looking like they should be there. Or that something hinky looking is going on. Make sure that you can get to your car safely first. Second, if you have to use your key fob to get into your car, make sure you have your keys in your hand before you walk out of your secure location so you can get into your car. When you get into your car, lock the door immediately. Even with all your stuff in your hands, lock the car door immediately. And then you can put your stuff down. When you get in your car and you're getting ready to leave, always know where you're going when you get out. So if you're going home, make sure you know which way you're going, which direction to start driving. You never know when somebody is just waiting for you to let your guard down and they're going to try to get into your car. Lock your doors. So make sure you know where you're going and you're not having to try to pull up an address or whatever. Just be careful out there. That is my philosophy now, is to pay attention. I don't know if somebody came up to my window asking for directions or asking questions. I don't even know that I would roll my window down. It depends on the area that I'm in. I'm very leery of that. Now, last thing is, this is an adventure and I'm going to enjoy it. And that is my last tip is I first thought this is vacation, and it's not. For me, it is not vacation. This is an adventure, and that means I don't have to rush through the adventure because I'm going to be there for a month, and I don't have to schedule everything at one time. I can just take my time and enjoy it and have fun with it. And that has been the biggest takeaway so far that I have found, is that have fun, Wendy. I don't know how long I can do this physically and mentally, financially, but I'm going to do it as long as I can. And right now, I just want to have fun. Now, you're wondering, bonus, you're wondering where I'm going next. I'm not going to tell you the city that I'm going to. I'm just going to tell you the state that I am going to. I am going to Mississippi. So I knew going into this adventure that I wanted to visit Laurel, Mississippi. I'm not staying in Laurel because I couldn't afford it, to be honest. Um, you know how it is when things are popular, the prices are higher. And I didn't find that I was getting much of a break booking for a month. Now, every place else I have been to or have booked, if you book for a month, or 28 days is like the sweet spot, then they give you a big discounts. It can be 40 to 50% off the stay of what you would pay if you booked daily. I didn't find that in Laurel. If they gave a discount, it may be a couple $100. I'm not going to pay $2,000 plus dollars. It was more like 2,500 or plus to stay for a month, because that eats into what I can spend. So I'm staying away. I'm staying outside of Laurel. It's a little bit of a drive, but it's not so far that I can go a couple of times and do everything that I want to do. So my thought process is, once I get there, is to pick a day of the week and just say that's my Laurel day, because I do want to do the walk to see all the outside of the houses that they've redone, Ben and Aaron, from hometown. And then I want to go see their mercantile and the Scotsman. I want to see the scent library. I want to go in there. There's several shops that I want to go into in Laurel, and that has really been my driving force for going to Mississippi. And so there are restaurants I want to go to, and I will eat every time I'm there. There's a little fly. So I know it's going to take me more than one trip. So my plan is, plus I want to go to Hattiesburg, which is a little bit outside of Laurel, which is in the opposite direction of where I'm staying. So I may go once a week for the 4 weeks I'm there, once to Hattiesburg, maybe even twice to Hattiesburg, and then once or twice to Laurel. So I'm excited about that. And I hope that at some point I can go down to the Gulf Coast. I might even spend the night, guys, for a night. It depends on reservations and if I can find something for a night. But I really would like to go down there, and there's things I would like to do while I'm there. So I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of things to do. I looked for stationery stores. There seems to be one in Laurel. And I think one in Hattiesburg. And the other cities, I really didn't find anything. But I'm going to look at everything while I'm down there. And I think the size of the cities that I'm going to now are going to be more in my comfort zone. And so I'm hoping to be able to get out and do more and see more. I want to go to the art museum in Laurel, and I want to see if there's some place that I can do a watercolor class. I would love to do that. I wanted to do that in Myrtle Beach. They just didn't ever have an opening, so I didn't get to do that. So guys, I will be leaving here shortly. It's not many more days before I leave here, and I will be headed down to Mississippi. And once I get there, I'll be setting up my filming area. You'll get some videos from me there. I will be able to video the Airbnb because they allow commercial. They haven't said that you can't do commercial photography. So I will be able to show you that Airbnb, and I'm so excited to be able to do that. So guys, I hope maybe you got a tip from me. Maybe you found this interesting. If you did, leave me a card down below. And guys, I'll see you pretty soon in Mississippi. Until next time, guys. Bye-bye.